sponsored by printbymagic.com, printing playing cards and services for magicians. Hi, James Anthony here from Magicworld.co.uk, and I'm going to be reviewing the Atomic Deck while in this amazing location that is called Chamonix. Let's show you around the village very quickly and get into this slightly different Atomic Deck review. Oh, it's great fun. Very nice, I've not seen this area before. Whee. Okay, so what is the Atomic Deck? Well, it's any card at any number with a few limitations, but it's definitely innovative, a little bit different than some of the ACANs I've ever seen before, and requires far less practice. So you can literally pick up this product and start performing it in less than 20 minutes. He actually has now a quick start tutorial, which wasn't there when I first went, which teaches you the whole system in 5 minutes. So all in all, you can be performing the ACAN in half an hour. When I say perform it, I mean just the bare bones of the trick, not the performance and what you need to make an ACAN really good, a very good presentation. So that is what I think about this product in terms of it's fantastic, but it's not going to be for everyone. As some reviewers have already said out there, it is different than other ACANs. The cards are not, how do I say it, to a normal spectator on a stage or a parlour, they will look absolutely normal. They won't have a clue that it's a tricked deck of cards in some way. You can almost, now I don't necessarily think you can do this, but hand out the cards to the spectator. They can go through the cards because the cards stay together in certain ways. Now, in my opinion, you wouldn't ever want to handle this deck out to spectators. It feels a lot thinner. They don't feel like regular playing cards. So this is definitely part of the downside, but it has to be done purely in your hands, and the spectators can't then grab the cards after in any way. So that is a caveat. But as for how clean it actually is, it is phenomenally clean and quite spectacular how the cards come to be in the positions that you wish. Now, I'm not going to divulge the secrets. All I'll say is doubles, singles, and the way the deck works just works. Apparently it's not roughing, but it is using a system within printing that works in a similar way. That's the most I'm going to give away for this. Now, let's talk over the actual product. You get a nice box, you get the deck of cards sealed, the box has markings on it, the cards have markings on it, which is very useful. The cards have markings on the back, which means you can easily put them back in order if you get them out of order in any way or you drop the cards. I'll just say you don't want to really drop these cards or put them into watery tables or anything like that. They're not going to last very long, mainly because of the thickness. Now, thin cards have been around for a long time. Phoenix have done this a lot with their double deckers. It's nothing new in terms of the thin and thickness of the cards, and that's not really a downside to this trick, as maybe some other people would say, because this is a trick that is going to be done inside your hands. You have a deck of cards on a pedestal on stage, they've been there from the very beginning, and you ask someone to name a number and a card, or card and a number, and their playing card will be at that number. So that's when you take the cards out very carefully, and at this point, the big plus is you do not have to cut the cards anywhere, make any sort of changes to the order of those cards. The only change you might have to do is you deal them from either face down or face up, which isn't such a major problem. Maybe if you're a purist mentalist and it has to be done, it's face down every time, but for the average audience, are they really going to know the difference? No. So the fact that you can deal through the cards for the majority of chosen playing cards, and at that number will be their chosen card, and then you can show the rest of the cards, it just looks like a normal deck of cards. So as long as you frame this right, that final card will be their card, and I have no danger whatsoever. This will blow people away. Now, let's think about other things. So we've gone over the fact it's got the markings on the back. The markings on the back are not super obvious, like I think other people have stated, that everybody would find out what the markings are. No, I think only if you're a magician are you going to A, look for the markings and know where they are, and number two, you don't hand this deck of cards out to a spectator, so how the hell are they ever going to know? They're not. So quite simply, that's out of the equation. I'm not sure if on the tutorial anywhere, because it's a long tutorial, it says you can hand the cards out to the spectator, they can have a look or whatever, or go through them. That definitely wouldn't recommend if it is said, but I don't think it is. This is something done in your hands. Perfect, I think, in a parlour situation, perfect perhaps on stage with a camera, and it's the kind of trick you want to do with a few people or group at the end of your walk around set. You've got to do 10 minutes little stage show or something. This is the perfect effect for that. As you can tell by what I'm saying, there's lots of little pros and little cons, because nobody can ever do the perfect ACAN. I mean, of course, the Burglas effect, it was fantastic. David Burglas came up with a brilliant method. Assy Wind has done some since, but they require a lot more work. This requires no work, and that's what people are forgetting. Perhaps that puts that sometimes into the wrong hands. Maybe if it requires no work, it means a lot of people aren't going to put work into the presentation, which in turn is a bad thing. But overall, I cannot fault the actual effect, the trick. Now, we're going to talk about the phone in a moment, but because that is something that in the first trailer you don't really see much about the phone. The phone's not really introduced, and for those reasons I had no idea a phone was even part of the effect until I received it or I read some comments on it. So that is something you've got to wrap your head around. Could you perform this with a phone? And if you can't, don't worry, because I think at the time of shooting this video, they are creating a system where you could do this wirelessly using Peaksmith and those kind of items. So it actually picks up voice recognition of the number and the card, and now it tells you either an earpiece or it tells you on a little Peaksmith device, a Peak device, what number their playing card is at. So that is pretty groundbreaking, and I think that is going to greatly enhance this product. So that in turn is great. One downside I was going to say, and I forgot, was it's not bicycle backs. So first of all, I would probably take the cards out of this and put them into a bicycle box, just so it kind of matches up with the cards I've maybe been performing with prior to this. I just don't want them to see the box that says ultra thin cards and that kind of thing on the front. Not that anyone's going to get that close. Like I say, this is not an effect really for doing one-on-one, but you can do one-on-one if you like, of course. But for me personally, it is, okay, you've got a little event, got 5 or 6 people around, you want to knock them away with this and maybe a couple of other effects. That's when you can introduce this any card at any number plot. So, yeah, there we go. Cards can't be handed out, really. No, they shouldn't be. Do they look like normal cards when you're dealing? Yes, they do. How difficult is it to deal the cards? That requires a little bit of practice. But I'm finding, I think the more you use the cards, the more that they will separate. That's all I'm going to say. But they do separate with the technique that is taught, the quick technique. So it's relatively easy to do the splitting or the doubles. Doubles are dead easy, so that's the easy part. So let's go into the next point, the app. So you have got to, for a reason, tell somebody to go to an app. Sorry, a website, not an app. And the website is a university stats website that was built for the probability of playing cards. And you have to very clearly say to your spectators that, okay, if for any reason you pick a card with a higher probability than, let's say, 5, then we're just going to move on and choose another card because that probability is way too high. I want it to be more difficult. So that's kind of your out. So it's not quite a true any card at any number. It's almost any card at any number. I think there's an 11% chance of choosing a card that is not possible. So you have to get them to change their mind. You also maybe have to do a little bit of voice, discussion at the beginning to get them to not pick certain cards. I think like a Queen of Hearts at position 13, or number 7, or an ace, or a 4. So there's just a couple of ones that you just have to kind of like work that into the language so that they're not really chosen. And then, that's not such a major issue. It is if you don't frame it right. If you ask for any card at any number, say it's going to work, and then you have to get them to change their mind, no. You have to have a valid reason to change their mind, and that comes down to you and your presentation again. So, do the cards look like the real when you're dealing them? Yes, they do. Will they damage easily? Yes, they will. If you suddenly put a crease in them, it's going to be in there for forever. Will they tear easily? Of course they will. But having said that, I have been playing around with my deck now, and I found it very easy to deal the cards, very easy system to understand the system, and the cards are holding up nicely. I mean, I must have done this about 50 times now, playing around with it, and they do continue to stay together very well. So, yeah, I think I'm covering everything here, apart from the fact I wouldn't do it so close that somebody could come and grab the cards, and that would ruin the cards, because they just get damaged really quickly, and then somebody will probably say these are a little bit thin. So I think I'm covering all bases. If I haven't, just leave a comment down below, ask me a question, and I'll let you know my thoughts on it. But yeah, like I say, you have to have a reason to go to the app, or with the new version coming out, you might have a way of being able to just literally see what card at what number. But how then, with that system, do you tell them to navigate away to another number if the number is not selected? I'm sure they will come up, Craig and Lloyd will come up with a solution to that, but with the app, you've got a valid reason to move on because it's above 5%. But if you are just doing it with a peak, how do you tell them to move on to another card because that's way too popular? That's just, you are going to get some cards that you put into the system that come up with, I would say anything above a 4, I think it is, but no, anything above a 5 means you cannot get to it. Anything from 0 to 1, you have to deal the cards face down, from a face down deck, and anything from 2 and a 3, that's all I'm going to say, you have to deal face up. I'm not going to go into any more, that doesn't really give anything away, which is good, but it's an easy system that I think anybody can learn, but it will be the people who really put time and effort into this deck that will get the most out of it. And is this deck for pros? I would say it is for pros in the right circumstances. I mean, pros do like to use regular decks of cards as much as possible. However, if there's a way that is that clean that can be performed with a gimmick, and there's a reason to introduce that gimmick, because they're not bicycle cards, remember, and there's a reason to perform this using these cards, and they look normal. If they look normal, then the spectators aren't going to think that they are fake cards, and that is all that really matters. So yes, I think it is for professionals. It's definitely targeted at the amateur and intermediate market, no question. It's in a lot of people's hands, so everyone will be potentially doing this. So I think if you're going to get this, commit to really putting the time and effort into a presentation that makes the plot a little bit funny, because for me, the any card at any number can be a little bit boring when done incorrectly. So you need to come up with a presentation and a style that will suit you, and that is nothing to do with the actual atomic deck itself. That is down to you guys at home. So I hope you've liked this review. Like I say, it's a very random review in the mountains here of Chamonix, and just having a little walk along the beautiful river, and going to go back for après-ski beers, even though I've not actually done any skiing today. Shouldn't admit that. But let's give it a rating out of 10. I mean, oh God, it's a really difficult one to rate this, just because of there's so many pros and so many cons, and there's not really any cons as such. It's just with the any card at any number, you're never going to get the perfect one. So there's always going to be a con, if you know what I mean. So for that reason, I find it really difficult to give it a rating. So I'm actually tempted not to give this a rating. I mean, in terms of product quality, the amount of work that's gone into it, the video tutorials, I would say 8 and 9 easily. One little thing I wish that they had done maybe is in the tutorial area, just put a clear link telling people in text what the university website was. I had to go through the whole hour and, well, not the whole thing, I had to keep skipping through an hour and 50-minute video just to hear the one little section where he mentions that URL. So I wish that was maybe in the quick start guide. So here's this, here's that, here's what you need to do with the effect. But apart from that, it does everything it says on the tin. It also has an extra bonus with Peter Turner, so you get lots of bang for your buck with it. And bearing in mind that other cards that are extra thin cost so much money, this is actually a reasonably priced effect for the deck that you get, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So there we go. I am going to go and have my beer. Thank you for joining me at this Magicworld review. Please click the like, the subscribe, the alert button, do everything you possibly can, and please don't comment on how bright this jacket is. I know. Have a fantastic week. See you. Bye-bye.